Afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to the Trudy's family and special friends of Trudy and Arthur and those of us who are joining online right now. The Covenant family celebrates this wonderful, wonderful 50 years of you. And that's why we're here today, that we want to be able to celebrate Trudy's 50 years at our organ, and this beautiful organ that she says is about the second organ only to the one in the Netherlands that's the best. Is that right?
Well, it's very good, and it's different.
And it's different. She loves this organ. So this is the one that she loves, and it's been an honor to be able to talk to her over the last few months about this. But we are honoring you today, and you don't have to do anything but just sit here and enjoy every minute of it. And all these wonderful people are here to help you celebrate this as well. And I want to introduce myself. My name is Missy Hawley, and I'm the head of personnel and the chair of this committee. And the celebration committee has just been incredible. Their names are listed in your program, but I just want to thank them very much for everything that they have done, and they have just been awesome to work with. And it's easy when you have somebody like this that we're working with. I know that Arthur really wanted to be here today, and he worked very hard to try to get here today, but he is with us online. And Arthur, we are still praying for you every day, and we want you to get better and get stronger each day. This is your day, Trudy, and we want to celebrate you. And so this time, this few minutes that we are going to be together, we want to celebrate you and your time here and what you have done for this church, for the community, and so many others. So I'm going to turn it over to Jody right now to start us with prayer.
Would you please bow your heads with me? God, we thank you for the blessing of being together in your house for this celebration. Trudy has given so much of her life in study and practice and worship leadership time, and it's appropriate, Lord, that she would be here as we remember and celebrate 50 years, just a covenant of her proclaiming her love for you. As we move in this day, Lord, help this be a celebration that is grounded in you, but is focused on loving Trudy and her family, who have also sacrificed in deep ways with time with her, with their families, and in supporting her to be able to make her gift possible. And we thank every single one of her family members and friends for the gifts that they've given to support and make that possible for Trudy. As we go in this day, Lord, we thank you and bless you, and it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Jody.
There's something I would like to say that's a little off the line.
Okay. All right, so at this time we want to honor Trudy, and I want to especially say thank you for her family who is here, who has driven a long way to come, and to everybody who is with her. And I know that we wanted to seat her this way so she could see all of you. There's also special friends that are here as well, so we appreciate everybody being here. I'd like to take just a minute just to share a little bit about Trudy's history. And I have been privileged to be able to sit down with this lady for the last couple months, and she has told me her life story about how she learned to play. But I just want to share just a small portion of this with you. This is, she began here at Covenant October 1st, 1973. But leading up to that, she was born in New Jersey. She was the youngest of 4 children. One of her earliest memories is sitting at the piano at age 4. She learned to play the piano by watching her father, and this woman has never taken a formal piano lesson, ever. That's incredible. And to learn the timing, she shared that her father would have her march around the room. He would march around the room, and so she could learn the timing, and that's how she learned. And you know what? The rest is history. You heard her this morning and how good she is, but this was her beginnings. And she loved music, her family loved music, and her older sister played the organ, and Trudy wanted to watch, and she wanted to learn to play the organ as well. Trudy was playing the organ at her church when she was a junior in high school. When her sister went to college, Trudy took lessons from the same teacher that her sister took from. And again, she went on to do great things. She studied at Calvin College, and after graduating from there, she received a Fulbright scholarship to study in Amsterdam. Trudy and Art married after graduation from Calvin, and they started their life over there. And what she and Art both said is that because he spoke Dutch, her family said, it's okay that you get married and go over, because he'll take good care of you, because he could speak so fluently. She continued her graduate studies in Toronto and completed her graduate work at Smith College along with postgraduate work as well. She is also an accomplished pianist and a harpsichordist, and she also taught handbells at Wittenberg, and I don't think a lot of people know that. And they went to Korea. They went to Korea with the handbell choir. She spent her incredible career as professor of music at Wittenberg. She also was teaching students at that time. She had many, many students, and she took so much time with them. And in my search for this information, I found online some things that your students said about you, and and it was all good. It was all good. But how incredible she was, and how she took time with the students. And she took time on a Friday afternoon. This is outside of when she taught and doing other things in her busy schedule, to take time with organ students to teach them. And she was just they said she was an incredible teacher. And her husband, Arthur, retired. He was a retired Wittenberg professor of English, and Arthur was instrumental in her career. And all of us on the committee, when we talked about Arthur, we said that he was and is the wind beneath your wings. He was always there for you and always supporting you and loving you and guiding you in what you did.
Maybe that might be in some interest.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. This idea of my going to Europe, okay, after I had this Fulbright scholarship, up to that point, my mother wasn't too happy that I had somebody that I was going out with, which was Arthur. And she thought I should just go off to Europe and go to Holland, to Amsterdam. And I said, but they speak the language and I don't. So we need Arthur. And so she said, oh, yeah, he'll take care of me, Mom. Okay. So we got married, and then we went over to Amsterdam. And I had the Fulbright scholarship, and he did a lot of teaching down there too. But it was only because I was going overseas, and she agreed that it maybe wasn't the best thing to do it going all by myself. And so, so Art was allowed to get into this, and he's been in there ever since.
And he has been instrumental in your life. Very much so. And thank you for sharing that. As a quick recap of her sitting at the piano at age 4, to where she has shared her talents in 39 states and in 9 countries, in Europe and in England. And here she is. She's shared almost 50 years with us. And she has a remarkable talent. And when people know her name. When you talk to people, they know her and they know her talent. She has always said to me, when I've talked to her about playing the organ, she said she feels that playing the organ is worshiping God. And that's what you do every Sunday, is worship God through this. So this was just a very small snapshot of her incredible career that she has been willing to share with us. So for that, we thank you. So at this time, I'd like to invite a few people up to just share some memories and special things about Trudy. And I first would like to invite Eric Tyler Barga, our music director, and Becky Peaster, who is a part of the choir and personnel.
Good afternoon, and I thank you all for attending this momentous occasion today in person and those joining us online. I also extend my thanks to the Celebration Committee and our pastor, Jody Noble, for organizing this well-deserved celebration of a remarkable organist, Trudy Faber. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Eric Tyler Barga, and I serve as the music director here at Covenant Presbyterian Church. My relationship with Trudy extends back much further than many may know or might realize. Maybe even Trudy might not know this. 21 years ago, on November 16th, 2002, my parents were married here, and Trudy played the organ for their wedding. We were members of Northminster, and I was 7 years old at the time. And I had the joy of tagging along with my mom to all the planning meetings leading up to the wedding, including the meeting with Trudy. Of course, it was a meeting to discuss the musical arrangements for the service, and it was a brief meeting as my mom just wanted some processional and recessional music and Seek Ye First, the hymn played. However, I recall my mom reflecting on that meeting later in life as I had begun my music career, saying something to the effect of, "It's a good thing I didn't want any Christian pop music or a praise band, because that wasn't going to happen." I'm sure Trudy had politely informed my mom that it wasn't quite her style. And that is where my story with Trudy begins, as we are of one accord in our appreciation of the power and purpose of the tradition of sacred music in the Protestant Church, going back to Martin Luther, which views the art and craft of music making as both a gift of and worship of the divine. In my college years and after, I would occasionally come here to perform special music on bassoon with the organ or piano. And we would always wind up discussing a little something about the Baroque composers that we both so enjoy. And I remember a lengthy discussion the summer after I had just taken a course on Bach and Handel, about Handel and his choruses, and a very famous one in particular that we agree isn't even his best. You probably know the one, the Hallelujah chorus. When I began as the music director here a little less than 2 years ago, we were just at the end of the worst of the pandemic. And even during the worst of it, with a nearly empty church, Trudy was still here every Sunday to provide the music, as she has been here nearly every Sunday for nearly 50 years. Ministers and congregants have come and gone, and a handful of music directors have been at the helm, but Trudy has been a defining fixture of Covenant's musical legacy and a gem of Springfield's musical landscape. It is difficult to even think of Covenant without also thinking of Trudy and the organ, so let me be one of the first to say thank you, Trudy, for 50 years of service to the church, to Springfield, to the countless musicians, professional and amateur, that Trudy has fostered and supported in her time here. Thank you, Trudy. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Becky Peaster, and I've been in the choir a long time, so I've gotten to know Trudy over the years. One of my first memories is when my family and I were looking for a new church, and we started coming to Covenant. And I remember sitting in the pews, and this organ music, wonderful organ music, was just soaring to the rafters. I didn't know who was behind the organ. I didn't really even know where the organ was at that point, but it just was such a moving experience that I knew this was where I wanted to be. I'm going to try not to get choked up, but it's not working. I eventually joined the choir and got to know Trudy, the person behind the organ. She was quiet. She smiled a lot. And at that point, I was always amazed at how, during choir practice, she could play all different parts. You know, there are 4 different lines, and she can play them all at once. So her eyes were seeing 4 lines and playing them all. I was just amazed. And then when the choir was able to be in the loft, you know, we not only got to hear this beautiful music, but we got to watch her. Each hand would be on a different manual. Both feet were going on the pedals, and she's pushing buttons and pulling stops all at the same time. And it's just a joy to watch. She shared with me many times, and Missy mentioned this too, that when she plays the organ, that's her way of praising God. And I think that's obvious. And hymns are special to you. She's always said that. And you can tell by the way each verse, she plays a verse a little different, depending upon what the message is. That's important to her. She also loves seeing the children. She loves talking to them. She stops out and talks to them. She always shared how she likes to show them the organ, and how she would show them how she could make the organ roar like a lion, and how she would just love it when their faces lit up and their eyes got big. And Missy said again, she loves this organ. She has said so many times, of all the organs she has played over the years and throughout the world, that this is the special organ, and we are so fortunate to have it. I could listen to her talk all day about her experiences and the places she's been, but I just want to say that you are such a blessing to this church. And I thank you for sharing that with us. And there's never going to be another Trudy.
Thank you, Eric and Becky. At this time, I'd like to have Basil Fett and Leanne Marenga come in.
They pegged me. Good afternoon. I'm Basil Fett, and I was the choir director here for 19 years, from 1994 to 2013, I think. And I think you all recognize the joy and beauty that you have been able to enjoy or received from your relationship with Trudy. And I think that's a wonderful thing, but I would like to take you just behind that a little bit. Being a musician myself, I want you to think how much time that represents being able to come up here and sound absolutely solid and completely musical every time you sit at the bench. So I did a little bit of calculating, and I'm going to take you past just Covenant for a few moments, and then I'm going to come back to Covenant. But Trudy and I have prepared and performed Messiah at Sulphur Grove United Methodist Church from 1989 to 2020. She actually did it about 3 years or 4 before I got there. And that represents 30 years that I was there. That's 7 rehearsals at an hour and a half apiece, 2 performances each year at about 2 hours. And then along with that, she spent at Friday afternoon about 3 hours doing registrations with the organ there to prepare for the 2 concerts. And that all comes out to about 490 hours of work. And then I started on the adjunct voice faculty at Wittenberg in 1987, and that year I began my first Messiah sing at Wittenberg because Orsina Smith had passed away, so I began to sing the solos for him, or in place of him, I guess. And soon I was conducting that Messiah. And we did that Messiah at Wittenberg for 35 years before it got nipped in the bud by the pandemic. And that represents 35 years of a 1.5-hour rehearsal and a 2-hour performance each year, which comes out to 105 hours. Now, we're just talking about rehearsal and performance time, not learning the piece, just the actual hours at the bench doing rehearsals. I became the choir director here in 1994 and worked here for 19 years, doing 36 weeks of choir with a rehearsal and a service each week. This represents 36 weeks of 2.5 hours for about 19 years, and that's about 1,710 hours of actual rehearsal time at the bench. So, this all works out to about 2,220 hours of solid keyboard time without including the registration time, without including any funerals or weddings or any of the other stuff. And you know as well as I do, I sang at a couple of funerals a week, several weeks while I was choir director here. Now, there were weeks we didn't have one, but when you include all that, so I did one more calculation. And I added the 14 services in the summer when the choir was not in session and gave her an hour of practice for prelude, postlude, hymns, and offertory, which is way too few, way too few. And then I multiplied that by about 31 years that Trudy was playing here at Covenant when I wasn't, and it comes to a staggering 10,200 hours. And if you divide that by 40 hours a week, it comes to well over 5 hours of full-time keyboard. Getting up in the morning at 8 o'clock, playing for 4 hours, taking a break for lunch, and going back to the keyboard and playing for 4 hours, 5 days a week, 50 hours a year, for about 5.5 hours. And then she held down a full-time job as a professor at Wittenberg University along with that. So I want to just say, although there just are not words, there just really are not words that get around that. But if you look at that, honoring, that's just an unimaginable amount of dedication and commitment to not only the congregation of Covenant Presbyterian, but just to the world of music. Really. Good job. My good and faithful servant. Isn't that what Ray used to say?
You done?
I'm done. Carry on.
I don't have any numbers for you, so you don't have to, but okay? I wanted to tell you a little bit about how Trudy and I met. I, like Becky, was looking for a church when I moved to Springfield, and I came to Covenant and was mesmerized by the music. So I joined Covenant in 1981, and then I joined the choir and ended up sitting next to the organ because, you know, I'm tall and I get to hide up there so nobody can see that I'm picking my teeth. Well, Trudy recognized and could pronounce my last name because she and I share a heritage. And I found out she went to the same college as I went to, graduated, grew up in the Reformed tradition just like I did. Arthur too. And we both worked at Wittenberg. So Dutch Reformed background, colleagues at Wittenberg, and love of music and teaching. I mean, what else could you ask for? Besides good cooking, of course, but. So that was the beginning of our friendship. And you know, your program says that I'm a choir member. Actually, it should say that I am the president of the Page Turners Union. Because I did offer to turn pages for her a couple times. And when she made her first CD here, it's called The Sounds of Covenant, I was the page turner. And we had to be here at like 10:30 at night so that there wouldn't be motorcycles or ambulances or whatever. And it was just Trudy and me and the guy who was doing the recording. And I was reading the music along with her. She did not make any mistakes. I couldn't believe it. She did have to do one thing over, but it was because of a noisy motorcycle, not because of mistakes. I mean, it was amazing. And her amazing interpretations of my favorite Baroque music, I decided that I needed to take organ lessons from her, and she agreed. Yeah, well, pedal practice with my big feet, hours of pedal practice. Scales on all 3 manuals, oh yeah, hours of all that stuff. She's an amazing teacher. And I'm really fortunate to have been part of your life. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. Thank you, Basil. At this time, I'd like to invite Mike Henry, who is a member and was also an adult student of hers. So Mike, you want to come up?
Yeah, being the last one to say anything is really tough. After all of that, I think just about everything's been said. There's just no one like Trudy. We first came to Covenant, or we came on and off. We just became members. Just to hear her play, just to hear Trudy play, to hear her play is just definitely a ministry. It's just a ministry in and of itself. And we just can't thank her enough for just the many times that we've been able to sit back there and listen to just the wonderful music that she has provided. I don't have Basil's voice. I wish I did. But I have a few things here too to talk about. I told Missy I had written them out, and I noticed other people had done had done the same thing. But it's just wonderful to be able to share this time with you, Trudy, on your 50th year as organist here. I never thought in the world that would happen for me to be able to honor you at this time. And an old student, you know, I'm not a new student, I'm an old guy. When I started taking from Trudy, I was probably 25, 30 years younger, okay? But I've been able to keep in contact, and I've attempted to do that, okay? The things Trudy has taught me have just been invaluable. She was able, in just a few lessons, you know, to teach me new techniques that I could use at the organ, because I do play it. I've played it numerous, I have a position right now, and I just retired from one church after 19 years. If I don't lose my train of thought here, at which I did sort of a dedication of a new reconstructed organ. And I went to Trudy and I asked her, you know, Trudy, I've got to do this, what do I play? And she says, I don't know. She says, so she gave me a book, and she said, well, you might look through this and find, you know, there should be something in here you can do. It just happened to be the book she taught me from. So it already had it. But nonetheless, she was so generous in trying to help. Okay. She just taught me some technical skills that I didn't, you know, that I really needed improvement. I needed a lot of improvement, okay? But she really helped me to do that. And for that, Trudy, I'm so thankful. And I just applaud you so much. I think the thing that Trudy taught me more than anything was when you play to the glory of God. You know, give God, try to, in your music somehow, try to give glory to Him. Not to yourself. Of course, we want to do that. We want to sort of show off our technical skills and that sort of thing once in a while. Does that make sense? And, but I think that was probably one of the greatest things she was able to actually convey to me as we conversed many times was, you know, give God the glory. Don't worry about the techniques so much. Hey, Guy, those are important, but He's more important than those. Bach felt the same way. And she's a lover of Bach. And she's a great instrumentalist of Bach. I've sat in here and listened to her play Bach and just thrilled at the performance. Another thing that I learned about Trudy was that she really cared about her students. I saw that. You know, I would come in and then others would come in too. She not only, you know, she cared about them and she loved them. You know, I would have my lesson and it was supposed to be 45 minutes long. Oh no, you know, it wasn't 45 minutes long. It ended up being an hour and a half. And, you know, that's how much she cared about making sure that she was able to inculcate some sort of newness and freshness to my playing, and I'm sure to others as well. Okay. So I learned just how much she really cared about the students she worked with, the adults she worked with, anyone she worked with. She always had time to sit down and share a few words and listen to you, and to listen to your joys, to listen to your heartaches. And I went through a time when that was really very difficult musically for me. Okay. And I told her about that. And she got this little tear in her eye. I'm sorry. And was able to take me through that process. And I came out on the other end. After that, I played for many churches and did many things. But I'll never forget that time. It was it was a very quiet time. I remember I had a lesson, and Trudy would always say, "How are things going?" And she'd try to, update, update your experiences. So I was trying to update I updated this experience, and it was kind of a tough one. I had always had easy ones before, and so she took. I looked up at her, and when I looked up at her, right at the very edge of her eye, the edge of her eye was red, and this little tiny tear was there. And I'll never forget that. Never forget that. What does that say about a teacher? Huh? Fill in the blank. Well, what does that say about a teacher? It says a whole lot. There's a verse in the Bible. I was really struggling with this, what to say. But there's a verse in the Bible that came to me. It's from Romans 12:15. And it says, "Rejoice with those who rejoice." She did that, okay? Many times. I'm sure with many students. "And mourn with those who mourn." So today, Trudy, we rejoice with you. And you have to hear that, words from an old teacher, an old student, excuse me. We rejoice with you, and I rejoice with you in the same way that you rejoice with me, okay? When I went to her and I told her, "Hey, Trudy, I finally learned to play the toccata and fugue in D minor." I did. And I actually had to perform it. So, that was a job for me. For her, that would be nothing, okay? So she said, "Oh, congratulations." With that little smile. And she really mourned with me, okay? When, this is supposed to be funny. And I used to try to make things funny and nobody ever laughed at them, so please laugh. She mourned with me, I should say. The scripture made me kind of move in that direction when I told her I could play music backwards, okay? And I really can. There's a technique to that, okay, by the way. And she looked at me like, "This guy's crazy." And I was like, "Oh, he really needs to go to mental health. And she never said that. That little smile just came across her face. And but there is. I do play music backwards, Trudy. I know she still didn't believe me. Her response to that was, "You need to write that up for the AGO and have it published." So I thought that was a great response. You know what I mean? What's that?
We need to.
Oh, yeah, great. They would have read it and thought it was totally crazy. Okay. Maybe not, because I would have explained it all. The only thing that I could, Missy told me not to spend any more than 3 minutes, okay? This is taking longer than that. And I told her, I said, I said I have to write my thoughts down on a sheet of paper and go to my computer and type them out and read them. And the only other thing that I could think to say, sort of in conclusion, would be, from the time we've spent here as members and just attenders, is that, Trudy, you're just very much loved, you know, not just here, but, you know, internationally, just internationally, all over. You know, one of the things that when I began taking lessons, I have different friends in different areas. Some of my friends I have many professional friends, and they know I play. And I've played for different churches, and they would say, "Well, are you still playing?" And I would say, "Yes, I'm taking lesson organs again." And they'd say, "Well, from where?" I'd say, "From Wittenberg School of Music in Springfield, Ohio." "From whom?" I'd say, "Trudy Faber." "Oh, we've heard of her." You know, that's the person she's known to be. So, Trudy, you're very much loved. I know I'm appreciated by everyone here, and I hope I have the right to say that as a new member. I don't know if I do or not. Sometimes I've wondered about that. It needs to be well known, okay? This is in my estimation, okay? That, Trudy, you're always going to be Covenant's First Lady of the organ. Don't you think?
Thank you.
And I want everybody to please come.
Thank you, Mike.
So, yeah. Thank you, Trudy.
Thank you. Okay, okay, all right. Okay, at this time, I'd like to invite Susan Hawkins and Kay Shell up, because they're going to share a couple of letters that we received that we'd like to share with you, okay?
This letter is from Linda Lund. Oh, Linda. And she so wished that she could be here, and I'm privileged to read her letter to you. Linda is the heart daughter of Art and Trudy. She lives in Florida, was a student at Trudy's at Wittenberg, and she took care of the boys when they were little and accompanied them overseas to help with the children. And I hope I can do her letter justice for you, because she sent this in a very heartfelt way. Congratulations, Trudy, on 50 years as organist at Covenant. It is yet another astounding accomplishment to add to your long list of other remarkable milestones and achievements over the years. You have served Covenant faithfully, and you love that organ with a good reason. The organ loves you as well. You have made it sing with grace and dignity, decade through decade. You have provided Covenant with great organ works and played them with exquisite technique, interpretation, and love. You have played under stressful conditions and with serious injuries along the way, but you never gave in and always rose to the occasion and delivered. I wish I could be present to help you celebrate. Special friendships are rare and precious, but I consider myself so blessed to not only be able to call you teacher, mentor, and family, and friend. I, along with Covenant, Wittenberg, and the Springfield community, have been blessed by your gifts of music, knowledge, wisdom, and faith that you have so selflessly shared with us during the past 50 years. You opened wide the door to learning and instilled a thirst to learn more in students of all ages. I have never seen you turn anyone away or utter a harsh word. You always find a way to get to the issue and help resolve it, musical or otherwise. You have always been far more than a teacher. You have been an incredible and loving mentor and friend, not just to me, but to many others. I have the privilege of being your spiritual daughter, and that is a great honor. As your spiritual daughter, I want you to know how much we all love you and the high esteem we hold for you, your talent, your dedication and care that extends across the country and across the nations. So, well done, good and faithful servant. From Linda.
And we are all here to celebrate with you, but there are some people that are not here but had a very important part in you having the opportunity to play for Covenant for 50 years. This is a letter from the Shantz Organ Company in Orrville, Ohio. Dear Trudy, my name is John Shantz. I am writing to personally congratulate you on your 50-year celebration as organist at Covenant Presbyterian. While I do not believe I've had the pleasure of meeting you in person, my last name might sound familiar. Shantz Organ Company was blessed to build the pipe organ at Covenant Presbyterian in 1962, the same instrument you've been breathing marvelous life into all of these years. Bruce Shantz, my grandfather, and John Shantz, my great-uncle, were part of the team that brought the organ to you at Covenant Presbyterian in 1962. If only they knew the wonderful treatment this organ would receive for the next 50 years. Our organ company is also celebrating a wonderful milestone this year. It is our 150th year in business. I represent the 5th generation of our family to continue this legacy. It's wonderful to see how our histories align for the celebratory year. While I've learned of numerous organists growing up, it is especially rare to have one with your resume so close to home. Many would say performing at pipe organs in 31 different states is a lifetime achievement, but to have also performed in 9 different countries is inspirational. However, the numbers aren't what make me happy for you. What makes me truly happy for you is that knowing that each instrument you played, Shantz or not, shared its voice and added to a lifetime of experiences that touched your heart. From my family to yours, congratulations and best wishes. Sincerely, John Shantz.
Thank you. This way we have honored her in so many ways. And if you look inside your program, you will see the picture of what she sees every Sunday. And she's seen this picture and this view for the last 50 years. So at this time, you can't have a celebration without awards and recognition. So at this time, I would like to invite the Honorable David Estrup to come up, and as he's the city commissioner, and like to say something to Trudy.
Trudy, Reverend Jody, Missy, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the City Commission of the City of Springfield, Ohio, I am especially pleased and honored to present this proclamation officially today to Trudy. Let me read it. Whereas Trudy Faber received a Fulbright scholarship to study organ and harpsichord at the Amsterdam Conservatory, did graduate work in musicology at the University of Toronto, completed her master's degree in music on a full scholarship at Smith College in Massachusetts, and completed additional graduate work at both Stanford University and the New England Conservatory. And whereas Trudy Faber retired as a full professor at Wittenberg University, where she served as chair of the music department, director of the handbell choir, organist at Weaver Chapel, and the recipient of the Distinguished Teaching Award. And Whereas Trudy Faber has performed locally as a harpsichordist for the Springfield Symphony Orchestra and has also performed as an organist and harpsichordist in 31 states and 9 foreign countries. And whereas Trudy Faber became the organist at Covenant Presbyterian Church on October 1st, 1973, and has now played for 50 years at Sunday worship services, funerals, weddings, and numerous special services. Now, therefore, I, Warren R. Copeland, Mayor of the City of Springfield, Ohio, and President of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim Sunday, April 23rd, 2023, as Trudy Faber Day in Springfield, and urge its citizens to recognize the amazing talent she has shared with Springfield and the world for many years. Most importantly, let us recognize that Trudy has led the people of Covenant in the singing of hymns of praise to our Almighty God for 50 years. Trudy, congratulations.
Trudy, at this time, on behalf of Covenant Presbyterian Church, the Personnel Committee, and all of us in this congregation, we would like to present you with this award. And this is just a symbol. This is just represents the many, many years of service that you've given to us. The wood on the back represents the organ, because we wanted to because we know that that is your cherished place here. And it says, Trudy Faber, organist, with gratitude for 50 years of music, Covenant Presbyterian Church. And your favorite Bach is down at the bottom. So we have this. So we will give you this to take home with you. So congratulations, okay? We'll give that to you. I'm going to put it back here? Okay. All right. So thank you, Trudy. At this time, I would like to have Michael from Peebles, Oregon. It's Michael Laughlin, and he would like to come up and make a special presentation to Trudy.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Michael Loffer. I am the Vice President of Peoples Herzog Pipe Organs, based in Columbus. It has been my privilege over the years to be responsible for the maintenance of both this instrument and the ones at Wittenberg for Trudy, working with Trudy to be sure that the instruments function well and we're in tune. Yes. I have known Trudy since 1985. When I first came to work for Peoples Herzog. I quickly came to admire her not only for her musicianship and her tireless efforts to keep the pipe organs under her jurisdiction functioning well, but for her seemingly endless ability to instill the fear of God into the hearts of facilities maintenance staff to always have the buildings at the proper temperature for scheduled organ tunings. Is a skill that I have yet to master. As a small token of our appreciation for all of your work towards the organ, I have made you a little gift. These are actual organ pipes. And a sort of a small lamp for you. I've got a little dedication plaque there for you, commemorating your 50 years. And I can assure you that the organist where these came from will never miss these notes. Yes, it has been a privilege, Trudy, to be working with you for the art of the organ. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Beautiful. At this time, I'd like to invite Greg Veith, our facilities manager, up to make a special presentation.
I'm the new Vanna White.
Trudy, I've only known you for a couple of years, but when I came here, I saw that organ up there, and when I first saw it, it was an organ. When you put your fingers on that keyboard, though, it comes to life, and I really appreciate everything you do up there. Now, Art isn't able to be with us today, but he had the foresight last year to know that we were going to be celebrating your 50 years this year, and he did something special for you. He had a picture of you framed, and we are going to find a special place in the church to hang this. So at this time, I would like to present this to you. Okay? But I think you did a great job of picking out a good picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
It's a privilege to call you and Art both friends. Okay.
Thank you, Greg. So when we're finished, we will take these awards and commendations for her proclamations down so you can all see them and take part of that. One of the other special things that we're doing is that Amy and a few of us have been working on a special book for you. And it has photographs in it, but we wanted to do this, we wanted to get photographs of today so you can enjoy these memories forever. So from today. So that will be coming. At this time, we're going to change the program a little bit. We're going to sing "Great Is Thy Faithfulness" first, and Eric is accompanying us on the piano. And it is on the back of your program, so you can sing it from there, and then we'll turn it over to Jody. Then, okay?
I still have a chance to say something.
Downstairs, yeah.
So Trudy, you are the reason that an organ is missing a big square of wood. Just kidding. And there are no pipes and 3 notes somewhere in this world on an organ. Also just kidding. And you are the reason why we are here. And there are so many worshiping and being part of this from afar with us through the blessing of live streaming, including Arthur. And our hearts are with you as you go. I was asked as we began this Golden Jubilee year if this was your retirement celebration, and I emphatically said no. Because you know what? On your worst days, you are better than almost every organist I have ever heard. You told me, and this is so weird doing this up here, but I don't have a microphone, so I'm over your shoulder, Trudy. Sorry for that. You told me that the hardest part of playing some days is that your feet don't necessarily do what you want them to do. Your hands are still going, but your feet are a challenge. But I tell you, God has given you the ability to continue, and you go until he says that's enough. And in these days when we get to do this together, I would normally have you stand and receive our love through applause before we go downstairs, but I'm going to invite your family to come forward and do this with you, because there's no way that you get to where you are today without your family having given you the strength and the time and the blessing to do it. So if you would come forward, family, and we'll stand Trudy in the center, if we would, with you, Missy, and then as everybody comes up, if you would just form a semicircle around Trudy with Trudy in the front. However that works, because we're not scripting it. But if you would just circle up on her. Maybe James, if you go, and John on each side of your mom as you guys go up. There you go. Because what mom doesn't want her boys on each side of her? Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Missy. The Fabers are a big family. Some are here and some are far and wide. And we are grateful to be able to celebrate with you, Trudy, the fact that you and Arthur and your family have created this blessing. And so would you join me in celebrating Trudy and the Fabers? And so the blessing, Trudy, of being you is that you get to go downstairs first for the lunch. And your family gets to go with you. So if you would help Trudy down, we'll send you off. And then if everyone will follow, we will head down to Fellowship Hall to have a meal together, and we'll pray downstairs. Thank you very much.